Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about a word that is floating around there, and it is sustainability. Luxury brands and all kinds of manufacturers, any type of consumer brand, are hopping on this bandwagon called sustainability, recycled, upcycled. A lot of this is marketing, so let's get into it. Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. Most of you might know me as a former client advisor for Louis Vuitton with all of my handbag expose. But I have also worked in the shoe manufacturing industry, in the fashion industry, and in cosmetics. So I know all the behind the scenes of how these companies get you to buy. Specifically today, we're going to talk about sustainable luxury, or sustainable anything for that matter. As I built my handbag channel, I saw many people believing, just inherently believing, that if you buy a luxury brand, they must be good. They must be better. There's one little man making them. This company is not producing waste. They're not killing cows. And the big myth is, especially here in the USA, is that if you buy something that's imported from France or Spain or Italy, it must be sustainably made. And it's a myth that everything made in China is crap, which is a lie, because actually most things are made in China. And not only that, but companies like Dior and Giorgio Armani and Valentino were fined actually by the Italian courts. And I think we all know this, that they found Chinese factories in Italy with Chinese workers being exploited. Do the Chinese workers have the same skill set and crafts that workers in Italy or Spain do? Yes, they do. Now here is another myth is most of these products are made abroad, whether it is Italy, Pakistan, Mexico, and they just need to be shipped to another country to do the finishing. For example, there are many products that are made in Mexico and finished in the US, and that allows the manufacturer to put the Made in the USA label on it to trick the consumer. I've even seen labels that say designed in the US, designed in Paris, designed in New York, yet they are made in China. They are made somewhere else. The truth is, this isn't really a myth. It's well known. The info is out there if you just look for it. But what it creates in a consumer's mind is that my product is better because it's from this certain place, which makes me a better shopper because I am more ethical than you are, which makes me a classier shopper because my bag is from Italy and not from China. So in essence, we just need to erase any idea that we are doing anything good for the planet because it's made somewhere. Now, admittedly, consciously, since I was a kid, I look at the labels and see where they are made, but I look at the whole garment, I look at the whole bag, and I do, for example, I love clothes that are made in the USA. It's very hard to find. There used to be a huge garment industry in Los Angeles and in New York, and it's no longer there. Now, I did some shopping over the Christmas break to see where things were made, and I went to different stores like Uniqlo and Banana Republic, J.Crew, and that was a very interesting experience because most of the things were made in the same place. I am going to have a video coming out on that very soon. Now, the second thing that I personally will not buy into is vegan leather. It literally means polyurethane or PVC, which is plastic. It's petroleum-based materials. Is there anything wrong with PU or PVC? Not necessarily, but this is what you're going to get. So I know about polyurethane and PVC from working in the sneaker industry. A lot of the high-performance sneakers had to be made with polyurethane because they performed better than leather. But I do know in the materials of some of these polyurethanes, and they're not all made the same. Some are very low grade and some are high grade. I have had items that have literally just fallen apart in my closet. Here is a bag that is made with polyurethane. So it's pleather, it's fake leather. It does not have a luxurious feel. This was actually a trending influencer bag a couple years ago. It's Alpen. I believe Taylor Swift was holding a version of this bag. But I don't like the feel or the look of it. But here's the truth, and I know this from working in the sneaker industry. I worked for a skateboard company, And our owner, I loved him. He was all about sustainability. He really had good intentions. So wanted a certain line of sneakers to be made with recycled materials, to be made with recycled polyurethane to be exact. And working with that, I found out from traveling over to the factories that creating that recycled material was the same process and created the same amount of waste as just making a new material. Furthermore, you take that and you build the shoe, and it's the same exact process. So it's creating the same, if not more, the amount of waste, because first you have to recycle the thing and then get it into production. So it was kind of a greenwashing thing that, yes, there's good intention to reuse that material, but carbon footprint didn't make that much different. In fact, might have been making things a little bit worse. It's much more complicated than people think. So when you go to Target or to the store or whatever, and they're saying, oh, this is made with recycled yoga mats or this or that, immediately I think, okay, they used some kind of leftovers, or it's not always the recycled yoga mat. They might have just used like the trimmings that were left in the factory. It's not always the recycled materials that you think it is, because it's very difficult to do. You have to scrub the materials clean. For example, if you see like this shoe is made with recycled yoga mats, or they think there's a slipper that does that, you have to scrub that yoga mat clean, make sure that everything in that batch is the exact same material so that you can melt it down and rebuild it. This is actually the truth about recycling, is that not a lot of things get recycled and then made into something else. In actuality, it might be made by factory scraps, like trimmings that are cut and left on the factory floor after the main product is made. And that's, I think, perfectly acceptable, because then they're not getting a new material from somewhere. They're kind of reusing the trimmings of what they have, is most likely what you're getting when they talk about these recycled pieces. There are deep dives into this about, I think H&M had like this sweater was made with recycled bottles a few years ago. And if you really looked at how hard that process is to actually recycle the bottles to make the sweater, not a lot of companies can actually do it, because it costs a lot of money and a lot of technology to do. But I'm still hoping that this process gets easier. I'm just bringing this to light to help it make sense to the consumer. It's our responsibility as much as the manufacturers. Number 3 is certified exotic skins. Now, exotic skins like crocodiles, alligators, ostrich, python. First of all, python skin is illegal in California. They're protected. Now, the allure of the crocodile skin, like a crocodile skin Birkin. Okay, Birkin is already kind of like way out there, out of my level. Now, even with Birkins made from cows, I've heard in the luxury industry, it's sustainable. I'm not sure what they think they mean by that. But when we're talking about crocodiles, I did see this video. It was about how these crocodiles live. There's like 20 crocodiles in a little 10 by 10 foot pool, and they are literally breeded to make handbags, belts, shoes. And in the process of, if you purchase a capucines, for example, from Louis Vuitton, and you want this custom, they tell you they'll go out and pick the crocodile for you. And it's not like they want it to seem like I went into the wild and picked the crocodile. No, they're just going to this little pool of crocodiles who are, I think they're actually very skinny, if I can recall. They're very skinny because they just live their life in this pool. And they're breeded for the leather, which, okay, I'm not going to like dive into it. I'm not vegan or anything. I feel, at least with the cow skin is a byproduct of the meat. I personally don't eat crocodiles. So anyways, my point is, I'm not sure what is like exotic certified about this. It's kind of just another word to justify that Yes, I'm wearing a crocodile. Because like I said, these animals, they're not shooting out, they're not hunting for animals out in the wild. Like animals who have had a good life, and maybe I'm hunting for this for sport and will use the skin as a byproduct. No, that's not the case. Okay, so number 4, the sustainable capsule collection. And I see this in every retailer like Uniqlo and H&M. And I think they're trying to do something good. So I can give kudos to that. But from an insider perspective, the time and effort, the processes to make that product could be exactly the same as if it's a non-recycled. But a good example of this, actually, when I think about sustainable capsule, it's not just putting the clothes on a rack and saying this is made from 80% recycled fibers. Let's look specifically at Coachtopia. Okay, so they actually say it's made with full grain leather scraps. Okay, so I'm glad that they're honest about that. Like I just said, it's not like it comes from an actual recycled or thrown away bag. It's scraps from trimmings when they're making like the A-line. Okay, but then there's also Coachtopia Loop, lightweight bags made with 98% recycled materials. I just saw a video from Tanner Leatherstein, and that is why it kind of brought up this topic for me. He had scraped a Coachtopia leather bag to find that it was actually polyurethane backed with leather. So that is not, I'm not sure what's sustainable about that unless they found that piece of polyurethane on the ground or something. So it's not always what the consumer thinks it is. In the first line of Coachtopia, I saw that they had, kind of like boho looking patchwork type of pieces. So I would have assumed that this was upcycled Coach bags torn apart and put back together. The thing is, Coach or most of these brands would not be able to do that in a way that would be cost-friendly to the consumer, because that is a more personalized handmade thing that would honestly cost a lot of money. They need to be able to make these products down the assembly line so they hit their quota, make quite a number of them to go not just to us in our little bubble here, but to everywhere around the world where they are marketing this product. Because yes, upcycling something that you've had, like say I take 3 bags and have them cut up and sewn back together. Yes, that is sustainable if it's made one by one. It's not sustainable for a big company like Coach that like we're not going to make one. We're going to make 5,000. So that go through the assembly line. They're not doing this process that the consumer is thinking that they're going through to deliver this upcycled bag to you. In other words, it's a nicely crafted story that might not be executed that way. Now, lastly, now this seems obvious, but you really have to think about it. There aren't that many companies. So let's talk about cosmetics companies for this, or actually Nike. Nike has advertisements where they just have green grass in the background and they're talking about carbon neutrality and save the earth and we use recycled products and this and that. And it's all kind of false for all of the reasons that we went over in the first place. The things you should be looking at, and these are not going to be apparent, you've got to do some digging. Are they really trying to reduce their footprint? How are they shipping materials? Is that because that causes carbon in the air? Are they using renewable energy? Are they using solar panels? Are they minimizing waste? Are they fair to their labor? What about Nike is clean? Okay, now here is something I learned. So this is something I learned in the cosmetics industry. It's called B Corporation. And those actually meet the standards for being socially and environmentally sustainable, transparent, and accountable. And this is actually a third-party certification. So you can't just come out and say, we're a good corporation. If you have a B Corp, that is a big deal. So for example, one of the companies that does have a B Corp is Clarins. So there are 5 areas where they actually get examined to get this label. I encourage you to look into it, or if you need a whole video on it, let me know. But this is much, much better than companies that maybe just claim to have, we're saving on packaging, we're using recycled packaging, or we're using sustainable ink on the packaging. I have heard this, and none of that means anything to me because, well, you still have packaging. Why do you need an extra box for your skincare to be put in? It's actually just waste. Even if it's sustainable ink or recycled ink, or I don't even know how ink can be sustainable. The packaging is just for our eyes presentation. Personally, I don't need it. I get home and I put that directly into the recycling. It's just causing more waste. But of course, the goal of 2026 is to not overconsume. So go back to the first question of, do we need any of these things anyways? I mean, probably not. With skincare and makeup, there are probably things that you need to replenish. And I agree, shoes, they get worn out. But I think it's more of a being conscious of like, is this really doing good for the planet? Or am I just buying something, consuming something that in a sense adds more waste, but makes us feel good in the moment? I'm contributing to it, but it's okay because this stuff is recycled or recyclable. When actually the true sustainability is, I know everyone's gonna love to hear this, true sustainability when it comes to most consumer goods is go find it used, go find it pre-loved. What do they say? One man's trash is another one's treasure. And the way we are spending here in the US, there are most likely things, I find a lot of things that are used once or not even used. Then you get to acquire it. Or for example, I have things that I no longer use anymore, put it on Facebook Marketplace, and it's gone by the end of the day. Someone wanted my Miele vacuum and I wasn't using it anymore. So there you go. And I saved her from buying a brand new one at Bloomingdale's. So everyone wins when you really need something. There are smart ways to shop. If you enjoyed this content, let me know in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.